Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation with WRAL's Five on Your Side, Keely Arthur, we're talking about a follow-up investigation into the state payouts to former workers, including retirement and disability benefits. Hundreds of thousands of dollars allegedly were overpaid by the state, money that former state workers are now being told they must pay back. But a lot of them are fighting back, some of them with our help. Keely, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So when we first spoke about this situation last month, I was amazed as so many of our listeners, that this could happen to so many people. Remind us about the case involving Joseph Glenn. What happened to him?
Okay, so this involves people who worked for the government, local or state. Joseph Glenn was a heavy machinery worker for the city of Raleigh for decades. He retired in the late 90s, and for years he got letters from the North Carolina Treasurer's Office through the Retirement Systems Division. That's who issues pensions to former public employees. He got letters all the time, or frequently enough, to make it seem like, hey, what your payout is this, and it's accurate. Then in 2018, he got a letter, and he and his wife Penny got a letter saying, sorry, we overpaid you a couple hundred so dollars every month, and now you owe us $241,000. And this is a family that already lived very modestly, and they were told they had no choice but to pay it back. And how they were going to pay it back is he had to go back to work. He retired in the 90s. He was in his 80s when he had to go back to work, and they were going to get a huge chunk of their state-issued pension taken out each month. So they had no money. They had to file for bankruptcy. Penny reached out to us. Joe died. And when she went to go pay for his funeral, the state took the separate death benefit that would have been issued to the Glenns. That was $10,000. The state took that and used it. So Penny couldn't pay for a funeral.
Devastating for this family. And his case was not the only case. There were 40 some others.
Yeah. And it was a total of around $6 million. Basically, the state had overpaid these people. All these people were people who had retired early. Once they turned 65, they were supposed to get Social Security, and that was going to kick in, which it did. And the money that they were going to get from the state was supposed to drop down. But the state never dropped the money down. And Joe got letters saying, your payout is accurate. How was he supposed to know? And that's how Penny and Joe felt.
And so now we're learning through your reporting, it's not just retirement benefits where these mistakes were made by the state, but disability benefits. So let's talk a little bit about Monica Pfeiffer's story. We're going to set the scene and talk more about it in the second half. So tell me about the letter she received and what it said.
Yeah, the Retirement Systems Division, again, overseen by the State Treasurer's Office, issues money to both retirees and people with disabilities. After our story with Joe aired, we had a lot of people reach out to us and say, hey, something really similar happened to me. This is Monica Pfeiffer we're talking about now. She was a public educator and went on long-term disability because of lupus. She was on long-term disability for 3 years and then got a similar letter in March of 2021 saying, hey, we've been overpaying you. In fact, you never qualified for long-term disability, even though we approved you, and you now owe us $118,000. And your benefits are being taken away, including your health care.
Wow. Well, we will be right back after the break with Monica's fight to set the record straight. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. So before the break, we were talking about this devastating news that Monica got about her disability benefits and her health care being taken away, and she's dealing with a lupus diagnosis. What in the world did she do?
Yeah, so she already was under immense stress, and lupus is exacerbated by stress. She says the goal is for your internal organs to not fail. I mean, it's a very serious disease, and she was dealing with that, then got this letter, And she was so confused. In order to qualify for long-term disability, you have to have 5 years of service. She had all of the things that one would need to qualify for long-term disability. And when she got this letter telling her, you're no longer eligible, you never were eligible, and you owe us everything we gave you, she decided to start fighting that herself in court. Thankfully, a lawyer stepped in because it's just, I can't imagine having to deal with fighting the state in a judicial situation. So a lawyer stepped in, and they realized there were other cases like Monica, people who were on disability who had been told you were never eligible and you owe us. And in that situation, they talked to another lawyer who made a really, really, really shocking and thankfully life-altering in a positive way discovery for Monica.
So tell me what they learned. I know this is a little bit complicated, but walk us through it one step at a time about how this happened.
So basically what the Treasurer's Office was using to say you never had eligibility was a law that was misprinted. It was a law that did not exist. So they were basing this audit and this recoupment of benefits to Monica and around 30 some other people who were on long-term disability off of a misprinted law. Another attorney realized, hey, what you're using to recoup this money and cancel these people's benefits doesn't exist. It's misprinted. And
so it was wrong.
It was wrong. The audit can happen. An audit is a good thing because it's a good
checks and balances.
Yeah. But this audit did not find a problem. It created a problem. And the misprint essentially shifted the time frame in which those 5 years of service is counted. And when the shift happened erroneously, it made it so Monica only had 4 years and 9 months of service. But again, this is a misprint. It's not like it changed. It never existed.
And so this didn't just affect her case. It affected 30 some other people. So what is happening now with Monica and what is happening with these other people?
Yeah, so we talked to the Treasurer's Office. They told us that they are working and have, I think, resolved most of these cases. They've been very tight-lipped. We interviewed the Treasurer, Dale Falwell, for our previous story about Joe. Since then, he's gone pretty silent. We've asked to do an interview regarding this situation, and they declined.
And so what's next? I mean, is there more to investigate here? Are there more questions?
There are a ton of questions. Again, like we noted, an audit is not a bad thing. But the fact that the state treasurer's office, what they do when they find an error, even if it's an error on their end and it's led to overpayments or whatever, the burden really falls on the retiree or the person with disabilities, not the state. And they want to get every cent of that back. And for these people, it was kind of just a financial struggle for about a year and a half, for Monica at least. But the mental toll and kind of the stress of thinking, I'm going to have $100,000 of debt.
Sure.
And these are people that are public servants, and they already have disability. They're already struggling.
And I think in the first show that we did on this topic, you talked about the fact that the state, there's no statute of limitations. In other words, they can go back years and years to say you owe money.
Yeah. If, like, Duke Energy, I use this example all the time, was undercharging you for your heat bill for 5 years, they could only go back and recoup that money for 3. It's a protection. The people in this situation, because it's our retirement systems division issued money and they're the ones trying to recoup it back, they have no statute of limitations, which is why they can go back, like with the Glens, decades to recoup the money. And this story is not over. While the disability situation, this batch of people has been more or less resolved. We're interviewing somebody very soon about his own situation. We know that we're starting to see this is not, 41 people or not 30 some people. There's a lot of people.
Paid out by the same system, paid out by the state retirement system, or the state treasurer's office. Any word from the state treasurer's office on this story, on this situation? I know you said you spoke to him for the last story.
I mean, what they basically said to us was that the misprint was in LexisNexis, and it was the reviser of statutes that saw the misprint. They didn't catch the misprint. They used the misprint to do this audit and recoup the money. So they're kind of putting the blame on other entities, but it was the treasurer's office that did the audit, that did the recoupment. And the laws exist. The real laws exist. There, for some reason, that was never checked.
So bottom line is they're admitting it was a mistake, but not taking full responsibility for that mistake.
Yeah, and I think we interviewed Monica and Monica's lawyer called it total incompetence, and she really puts the blame on the treasurer's office more than anything else.
Well, thank you so much, Keely, for this update on this ongoing investigation, and I know you will continue to follow this. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. If you would like to hear more episodes, please follow WRAL Daily Download in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or just about any podcast app. Once you follow the show, you will automatically get new episodes every weekday. Thanks again for listening.